travel down, you're gonna find a burger shop, Americana, mom and pop. How long? There ain't no telling. Living out there selling hamburgers for America. Yeah, hamburgers for America.
Hello and welcome to another episode of a Drive-In Double Feature. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And on this Tuesday edition of Drive-In Double Feature, we are doing Hamburger The Motion Picture from 1985, recommended from my father. He recorded a little audio, so I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce this movie.
Well, Hamburger The Motion Picture, it definitely brought back some memories. I chose this one because they showed it all the time on a show called USA Up All Night when I was a young teenager. For those that are too young to remember, USA Up All Night was a B-movie extravaganza hosted by American treasure Gilbert Gottfried and a B-movie legend Rhonda Shear. I was always a night owl, and there was nothing ever better to do than to the wee hours of the morning, so I think part of me thought that somehow or another they were going to put an unedited version on of one of the B-movies, and I might just see myself a pair of chesticles. I don't know if that ever happened, but I watched it enough because I had a feeling that it was just going to happen. So back to the movie. I just rewatched this with my wife, and believe it or not, I was actually surprised that we were both laughing at times. It's definitely a low budget. It must have cost like $7 to make, but you know, there was definitely some decent one-liners. Had some really funny scenes. Of course, the acting was garbage. The effects they had was horrible, but all in all, it was just a pretty fun movie. I know my first job was at McDonald's, and I believe that part of me wanted so badly to say to my customers, "Put those cookies back, mother effer," or "We reserve the right to refuse service to assholes like you." It's racist, it's bigoted, it's fat-shaming, misogynist. You name it, it checks all the boxes. I mean, a black man gets called an AfroTurf toilet plunger in the drive-thru, for goodness sakes. And now I've been pretty much saying AfroTurf toilet plunger for the rest of my life, for 30 years. A bunch of fat people get the craps, start farting. Farts are always funny. Then a flash goes off and the bathroom explodes. It was funny then, it was funny now. And then there's that theme song you can't get out of your head. Hamburgers for America. Now, how in the world can you get any better than that? So, Hamburger the Motion Picture, funny then, funny now, I would recommend.
All right, cool. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for all of that.
I'm glad we got to hear from, as your dad puts it, Mac Attack on the Hamburger episode.
Yeah, Mac. Yeah. I'm happy you talked about, as he put it, chesticles.
I was going to literally ask you about that. How often have you heard your dad say the word chesticles?
I think that was like the first time I've heard him say that. I think he was trying to find a Dad, I think you were just trying to find a non-filthy way to say breast.
Well, we appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you so much for giving us your thoughts on this movie.
Yes, yeah. And it's funny, I'll say like my history of this movie, I've heard about this movie all my life because my father does quote this movie. He quotes this movie all the time. He talks about it all the time. So it's just kind of always been there. And you've actually already seen this before, Ryan, right?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't? No. Okay. Okay,
so cool. You're probably getting it confused because there's a companion film to this, which is Hot Dog, the Motion Picture, which is what I saw.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, hamburgers are the most important American meal, much more important than hot dogs. There's actually a whole theme song to this movie, just like what was referenced. I did not expect this right at the beginning. I was laughing my ass off right from the start.
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, right.
This movie is so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really over the top gags that are just like super lowbrow humor, but it hit me right at the right time where I was looking for something like that, and it was great.
Yeah, I think so too. I think I just was in the right mood for it, and I actually came out of it being like, I liked that. That was good. But, you know, like, it's not actually good. It's low budget. It's not a great movie. It has a lot of questionable jokes.
Lots of questionable jokes.
But it made me laugh more than I thought it would. It really did. Some jokes really do hold up in this one. It's even got, I've been talking about this movie with my fiance, actually. I keep bringing it up because it feels like it just keeps coming up. Just explaining this plot is so wacky about a college boy who's been kicked out of 6 colleges because he's having too much sex. He's just sleeping with everybody, and his parents won't give him his inheritance unless he goes to college. So he goes to Hamburger University to learn to get a franchise with Busterburger.
It's so great, just that opening part, because he's having so much sex, but not of his own fault, that just women are just throwing themselves at him. Like, he goes to the school shrink who tried to diagnose, you know, this problem, and she ends up trying to sleep with him too, like right in the middle of his therapy session.
Yeah.
And
it's so bad that he doesn't even want it anymore. He's like, oh God. Like, you know, like, it just like keeps happening to him.
It's so funny. And the other funny thing too is so he gets kicked out of college at the beginning of the movie, and when his parents find out, he's like, oh man, my dad's gonna kill me. And then the next scene, his dad is just beating the crap out of him, like in a really over the top way.
Yeah, and he's saying, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you. Yeah, it's so lame. And like the setup, I love that setup, because right after that scene, like, oh, what college is going to take me now? And of course, a commercial comes on for Hamburger University, which I guess this is based off a thing McDonald's did for a little bit. I guess there was a McDonald's University at some point you could go to.
Yeah, they would go there for franchisees, and they would have to pass courses to try to be deemed worthy of the McDonald's brand. Because I don't know about you, but I've never been to a crappy McDonald's ever.
No, not at all. I've never gotten bad service at a McDonald's ever. But I will say, out of the fast food franchises, McDonald's is one of the ones I've gotten the least bad service at, actually. But I feel like this is a topic for a different show, the fast food hour.
Well, let's get this out of the way, Nathan. What's your ideal hamburger?
Ideal hamburger. I don't know. I like it with all the toppings except for pickles. I'm not a pickle guy. I don't like pickles. I won't eat them on my burger. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know that's controversial.
That is controversial.
From loving cheeseburger pizza, because they always put pickles on cheeseburger pizza.
Cheeseburger pizza, hold the pickles, please.
Yeah, and then they laugh, and it's like when I want a Cuban without pickles, you might as well just get a sandwich at that point.
Yeah, get a ham sandwich, call it a day.
Yeah, what about you? What's an ideal burger for you?
Oh man, give me everything on it, pretty much. I'll love a good hamburger, medium, throw it on the grill, maybe put a little seasoning on it, ketchup, mustard, mayo, lettuce, tomato, pickles. Give me all of it.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely, like, I will say, there's an aroma to a burger, right? Like, just like that aroma of a really good burger with all the toppings. It's American. You know, hamburgers for America, it's a tradition with the fries on the side. Sorry, I'm quoting the song.
It is a very special song. That song should be a little more known. I feel like this song should be more well known.
I agree. It's a really funny song, but it sounds really sincere. I know there's something about the lines about how important hamburgers are to America, but they really are when you think about it. It's just a wacky song. How long did it take you to realize that this was a Police Academy ripoff?
Is it a Police Academy ripoff?
Yes, this is Police Academy. That's what this is. It's Police Academy, but at Hamburger University. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah. Okay, I guess just now. I just now realized that.
Okay, now I ruined it. But no, that happened to me as soon as like they got the scene where they were at the university and it had like the whole wacky cast of characters. Like, oh, they're doing Police Academy. That's what's up.
They have done a lot of these types of movies before, though. So like, I think Police Academy was one of the ones that did something like this, where it was just like take random occupation and then put them all in school, because there's a couple. So I have watched a lot of these sex comedy type of movies before. And there's one called like Flight Attendant School, where it's like this odd bunch like going to flight attendant school, young doctors, where it's like doctors in medical school. There's another one where it's just like babes in the army type of thing. So it's very much a theme going on where it's just like, oh, let's just put these young people in these like random occupational schools and let's just make them have sex with each other.
Yeah, it's easy, it works. And you know what? There's actually not a lot of sex in this one. You know, it flips it on its head. It flips the whole genre because he doesn't want to have sex, but the women around him do. And also his best friend wants to have sex constantly. That's like his goal.
There may not be a lot of sex, but there is a lot of boobs in this movie.
There is a lot of boobs. I've noticed we're going to notice a lot of the same things, I think, the more and more movies that we cover. One of the easiest ways they showed boobs in the 80s was a shower scene. There's like always a shower scene with just like some woman washing herself. I don't know why. I guess it was easy.
Well, that's how the movie starts. It's just a bunch of women just washing themselves in the shower. And then when they get to the last stall, it's the main character and another girl just making out in the middle of not even a co-ed shower. It's like a women's shower. They're just making out with the stall door open for everyone to see.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh no, I got caught. This movie has like a really filthy scene. At least I thought it was, where two dudes are under the table. And then they like go up this woman's skirt and like doing whatever you think you could do under the table to a woman, and she like orgasms and everything. It is the wildest scene.
Right in the middle of a restaurant too, and
Yeah.
and the whole gag too is they're trying to stay quiet because their drill instructor for the Burger Academy is sitting right there at the table.
Oh man. And then the lady who's getting all of the works done to her is pulling off the tablecloth and ruining everything. Yeah. And I mean, and for punishment when they get caught is they get stuck in like a pickle suit and have like pickle juice poured on them. What was that?
That one I'm like, huh? Like I didn't understand because they put them in a giant pickle costume or like torture, like an Iron Maiden kind of, but it's a pickle, and they just dump pickle juice and play the hamburger theme song over and over again.
Yeah, I will. One of my favorite parts of this movie is the leader of Busterburger,
Mr. Vunk.
Yeah, Mr. Vunk, because he's so over the top. He's just like an old dude, and he's like it's almost like a cult. I think that's like the joke is it's a cult, and he's like the leader, but he's like teaching all the wrong things. Like he says like horrible things to do to the customers. Love it.
That's just like added into the lesson plan where we reserve the right to refuse service to assholes like you. Like that's like the owner himself says that, like that's an appropriate thing to say in your restaurant.
Yeah, and that must have been so like cathartic to like my dad said in the intro, where like being a fast food worker, hearing that, like, yes, I wish I could say that. You know, it's like Office Space for like fast food workers.
I did my fair share of food service, and there's many times I've wanted to say that. Yes,
yeah, I've never worked food service, and I really don't want to. It sounds like the worst time. It looks like the worst time. I don't know if I could handle it.
Hey, to those people that are willing to do it, God bless them. They're willing to do stuff I'm not willing to do.
Yeah, right. Speaking of which, they do end up running a restaurant. What's weird about this movie to me is where the movie, I think it would end at the big test. So they have like a test towards the end of the movie, and then they run a franchise, the whole group. And that whole section of the movie feels like it wouldn't be there. I feel like it would end with them taking that test. But one of the most memorable parts of the movie is them working in the restaurant.
Right. Well, that one they said they had like a little test franchisee, so it was kind of like a pilot, but still like regular customers go there all the time. And
yeah.
And this guy shows up like a bus driver. He's like, "Hey, I got some customers for you." And they're like, "Oh yeah, let them in." And like, "Who are they?" "Oh, they're from the eating club." And it's just these really overweight people coming in, and of course, like the big gag is they're like, "Oh, well, let me give me 60 cheeseburgers. What are you guys gonna have?" Like the big one, like the next in line gets another 60 cheeseburgers.
Yeah. It's definitely like a bunch of like fat jokes. It's one of those things where you have to like take it for its time. It's definitely an 80s movie. Because there's a Hispanic woman in this movie who's from the country of guacamole. And her whole gag is that their country's under revolution, and she always has like a gun on her and stuff. It's something.
Because when she said that line, she said, "Well, because the drill instructor said you're from guacamole," and I thought they're making the joke that she was from Guatemala or something like that.
Yeah.
But she corrected and said, "No, it's guacamole." And I'm like, "Oh, it's literally called guacamole."
Yeah, she's actually from guacamole. We'll go back to the franchise part, but I love that there's a nun in the group, and she's wearing the like a nun McDonald's outfit, pretty much.
That's funny. I like that too, because when the drill instructor is talking to the Spanish lady, and he's like, "Well, you came to the right place, sister." And then like the nun off in the distance, like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Because he said sister.
Yeah, that actually did make me laugh. So I think one of the most iconic scenes, because I was perusing the comments of Hamburger, the motion picture, just seeing like how people were feeling. A lot of people were nostalgic and went back to it. And in that scene where the people get 60 burgers, well, to get back at them, to leave, they give them laxatives. And they all are like farting and stuff in the restaurant. And eventually they all run to the bathroom, right? And they all like cram into the bathroom. And some dude's taking pictures in the bathroom and then like has flash on. And of course the lady's like, "No flash, no flash." And then the whole place explodes. It's like the dumbest gag. I don't know why, but I found it so funny. It is a funny joke.
It was so stupid. Like you obviously know what's going to happen, but it's just the fact that they went there was funny to me.
Yeah, that's what I like about this era of like comedy movies. Kind of like it's almost they have the mentality. Same with like Naked Gun, Loaded Weapon, or even though those are more parody movies, but throw jokes at the wall, see what sticks, right? We're just going to keep making jokes. We're going to keep doing things until you think something's funny.
And to me, it's very of its time. So I'm a lot more accepting of jokes like this from a movie of that era, because there have been movies recently that have had fart jokes, and I'm just like staring at it going, okay, that was not funny at all. That was so stupid.
No, exactly. Yeah. Fart jokes, you really have to do it well for it to be even remotely funny. But something from this era, I don't know, it feels a little different. And at least the whole movie isn't filled with fart jokes. It has like good sly humor, I would say. Maybe not all sly. There's a lot of jokes about pickles looking like dicks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my favorite joke involving a pickle is when the old lady pulls up to the drive-thru and it's Mr. Pickle, and the drive-thru operator has like a totally ridiculous voice, like, "Hello, welcome to Busterburger." Like,
the classic.
And then the old lady like is giving a line, or like like giving her order, and she's very specific, and the Mr. Pickle basically telling her to like, screw you, like, just, I'm not like just telling this lady off for being so specific with her order. And then the lady dies in the drive-thru. and then at the end, they're like, "Oh, hey," she said to the owner, like, "So the lady died in the drive-thru." And he's like, "Okay, cancel our order." And just like brushes it off.
I really liked that bit. That's what I liked about it. There's just something about it where it definitely wears that type of humor where it's all about straight people, like meaning like they don't even understand that they're making a joke or that they're knowing that a joke's going on. They play it so nonchalantly, and it works so perfectly.
Was there any jokes in this movie that did not work for you a lot?
I don't know if I really liked his friend all that much, where he had like the sex doll, But then again, the sex doll had a voice, and there was something funny about that.
Well, did you notice? So because you at first you think he's doing the voice for the sex doll, and then he throws the sex doll, and it's still talking, and he's moving his.
Yeah, no, because that's what I was like. Oh, he's not moving his lips. Okay, I guess he's doing, ventriloquist, but no, it was talking. The guy with so at first I thought it was kind of funny. There's like a fat guy who's trying to stop himself from eating, and he shocks himself anytime he goes to eat, and they keep doing that gag all throughout the movie. It's not a one-time thing; it's constantly going.
Yeah, it was funny the first time, but it got old. The one time he doesn't shock himself is when there's a bull testicle that rolls on the floor, and he's just like, "Oh, hey, this is a delicacy for some people," and then he just starts eating a bull testicle.
Yeah, and everyone goes, "Ew," Is there any jokes that didn't work for you?
Yeah, the one that fell flat for me. So there's the stereotypical nerdy character, which I didn't mind him, but. Mm-hmm. There's a really long stretch of the movie where he just acts like a chicken.
Yeah.
And because the professor at the school, infused him with chicken DNA or whatever. And there's just really long stretches of the movie where he's just pretending to be a chicken. And I'm like, okay, I get it. He's a chicken, but they keep doing the, bark, 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 bark.
Yeah. Which is that can only be funny for so long, right? Like, I think about this, it would bring up The Simpsons a lot, but in that episode where they get the baseball ringers and the one becomes a chicken, you only hear him cluck maybe 2 times in that episode. And that's it. That's all you need. You don't need a whole, I don't get why they gave this, it's almost a subplot. It's a subplot of the movie. It's not a gag.
It's like a B/C subplot to the movie.
Yeah, and you're right. I didn't mind that character. I thought, like a McDonald's nerd. I thought that's silly, whatever. But I don't know. He was pretty funny because at the end where they're giving their final examinations, and they asked him, "Now, what would you do if a customer vomited in your franchise?" It's like, well, first I would get his face and rub the vomit in his face and tell him no, and then I'd take the most expensive article of clothing and use that to clean up the vomit, and then throw him out of the store. Yeah, I love that test bit because there was a whole long explanation because they were like, somebody needs to call their dying mom on the payphone and they need change. What do you do? And then the guy's like, well, we don't even have payphones. We don't want to keep people in here that for longer than they need to be. And I was like, yes, you got it right. It's just about how awful it is.
Just the whole restaurant's philosophy is just treat all your customers like crap.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. I don't know how they stay in business, but they're doing it.
So some stuff in here that did not age well at all. So the drill instructor, who is actually someone notable, is actually famous football player Dick Butkus, who he's had a history of being in other movies, but he's the drill instructor, and he's really good in this. He's really funny, and just he's all in on this movie.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he does a great job in this one.
But there's a character that shows up. He's the only black character, and he's kind of like a parody of Michael Jackson, kind of, or Rick James, real famous black singer from the 80s type of thing. He's kind of parodying those people, and the drill instructor calls him the F word, uses a gay slur against him, and he calls him quote dark breath. Yeah. whatever that means, but
yeah, I didn't really get I didn't understand that character or the joke of that character really. I honestly, it just wasn't that funny because he would pop up and be like, I got to go to this gig. I have to go to the gig in Chicago, and it's well, that's not really funny.
Well, and the character too, almost throughout the entire movie, is in handcuffs or chains the whole time. Yeah. So it's very, very unfortunate. That's not one that's worth talking about. And but and then the other thing too is all the just like, oh, the joke is that they're fat, and it's just fat people are gross, or fat people are, they're like, everybody hates them. So it's just stuff like that where it hasn't aged very well. But back then that was the joke. So
yeah, that was humor. And I mean, times change, and I feel like they've changed for the better, of course. But yeah, I mean, this was just very commonplace. I mean, I want to say it's around the same time as like a movie like Soul Man or something would come out,
And your dad too also pointed out the other joke that was in here, where the drill instructor was talking to that black police officer and used some really offensive language against him.
Yes, yeah, I can't believe like this movie, like it goes a little far, I think, and that's why I would say God, it's a weird recommend. It's a really weird thing to say. Like, I recommend. I don't know.
I mean, if you love dumb comedies from the 80s, like you love stuff like Revenge of the Nerds or Animal House, or that's 70s. But if you love like dumb comedy movies like that, Police Academy, I'd say, to give it a shot, maybe. I mean, because if you're used to those types of movies, there's going to be some questionable material in there. And if you like those other movies, you're probably not going to have a huge issue watching it. But if it's something where you're not really into that sort of thing, or, you want to kind of keep things a little more PC, then I definitely would not recommend it at all.
No, yeah, I definitely want to recommend it. But if what we said sounded somewhat funny, it's going to be funnier to hear it out of the movie rather than us just repeating the joke. So definitely, yeah, no, I'll just mirror exactly what you said, Ryan.
But it is interesting. So I looked, but this movie is not on DVD or Blu-ray of any kind. And I read on there that I guess the rights for this movie are really weird, so nobody's released it on DVD. So I guess it's only had a VHS release.
That's insane. I wonder what the rights issues is. That's really sad. There's so many movies that are just like lost to time like this.
Here's a conspiracy theory for you. Maybe McDonald's owns the right and they're keeping it out of the public eye.
Yeah, because it's really an expose on what they do at McDonald's University. So, yeah, no. Isn't there another? Sorry, this is a tangent. Isn't there another movie like that like a company has bought it and then they like haven't released it because it looked. I forget what the company is. It's like some charity. The director, Ken Loach, did a documentary for them. And then it was supposed to be a positive one. And then he showed like how awful they were. And they were like, we're not releasing this. So
who knows? I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. So who knows? McDonald's might do it. Or it's a movie that only exists for like a certain subsect of people. And the demand just really isn't there.
It was the Save the Children Fund movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Save the Children Fund. I think people have seen it, but like maybe a handful of people have seen it.
It's really weird. There's other movies too. I mean, this is another tangent, but other movies have just been lost to time, like that Jerry Lewis like clown concentration camp movie. Yeah. That's a gem. I think every movie fan has heard about that movie and is like, I have to see that. And it just does. It's not there. And only like a handful of famous people have actually seen the movie. And it's just like, it's like the stuffs of legend. And that's type of stuff. That's the type of movies I want to see. I want to see the types of movies that nobody has seen and just to get more eyeballs on. Exactly. Yeah. And hopefully maybe like, we get more people watching these weirdo movies, because they're great. They for their own reasons, and I think that's why we do this show, right? One of the reasons. That's why. Mm-hmm. But Ryan, I think that about wraps it up for Hamburger the movie. What movie are we doing next time? Well, Nathan, it's been 4 weeks, and it's about that time to dip right back into that old Toho well. Okay. And I think you have an idea of what movie we are going to talk about, and because I've mentioned it already, but I'm going to throw you a curveball, Nathan.
Okay.
We will not be talking about Godzilla versus King Kong. We're
Oh,
actually
wow.
going to be talking about a movie that is directly after Godzilla Raids Again, and that will be 1956 Rodan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did throw me a curveball. Okay. Rodan.
And
I'm
get
excited for that.
and just to give you even better treat, this movie is actually owned by the Criterion Collection. They have their own HD version of that, but they never released it on DVD. But guess what? It's entirely free on YouTube
Perfect. In HD?
in HD.
Wow. Okay. That's exciting. Nice. That is a little treat. All right. Well, then I'm really excited to watch Rodan.
And I've got the David Klatt book. It has a whole chapter about Rodan. So it's just going to be like any other Godzilla episode, but we're going to be talking about Rodan. It just felt more appropriate because Rodan is part of the series, and I wanted to include him as well.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for that one.
But like I said, if you want to watch it on YouTube. It is 100% free. And also, if you love hamburgers or you want to recommend other movies to us, or just let us know your thoughts and feelings, please send us an email at drivein-doubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at DIDFpod. But until next time.
Until next time.